Joining us right now, we have a very special guest coming on the show. We've got former NFL running back Ahman Green, 4-time Pro Bowl selection, 12 years in the league. And man, Ahman, I'm so excited to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Man, JL, I can't hear you right now. I'm going to want to hear you, but...
I said something really cool.
Happens.
Yeah, I said something really cool, but you guys will never know. What's up, Ahman? So glad to have you on here, my friend.
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Doing well.
It's a crazy weekend of football, crazy NFL season so far. It's been a ton of fun, but completely crazy. Unpredictable. It's felt like for me, just over and over again. My expectations are proven wrong week in, week out this year.
Yeah, everything I say since week one has been flipped on top of his head. We're like in Stranger Things right now in the upside down.
We're right in the upside down.
Where things don't seem quite right. It's like, that looks like the Packers, but the record doesn't look like the Packers. Or that looks like Tampa Bay, but that record doesn't look like Tampa Bay. So we're in the upside down.
Side. That's what that looks like the Giants, but that record doesn't look like the Giants.
Exactly.
Like what the New York teams have a better record than the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers and the Aaron Rodgers-led Packers. It's bizarre. It's bizarre what we're looking at right now.
You would not have called that in August. Not at all.
You would not have.
No, it's been wild for fantasy football. And Ahman, I've been told that you're getting into fantasy football. You're getting into the fantasy sports area. And I wanted to know, like, when you were a player, you were in the league for 12 years. And I'm always curious, what was your perception of fantasy football while you were playing? Like, what were your thoughts about it? Because some of those fantasy managers can get they can get a little nasty out there in the social media world.
Yeah, actually, as a player, I thought it was a form of gambling, so I didn't even touch it. I didn't breathe on it. Okay.
Yeah.
I avoided it like the plague. Like it was COVID before COVID for me. Like I would turn the other way and did not even think about it. And then when I retired, I had a friend of mine, a close friend, could say, Ahman, you want to jump in our family league? I said, yeah, I'm retired. You know, I could put whatever money down. No big deal now.
You can't stop me now.
Right. And they're like, money? No, you just play. I'm like, oh, I was like, what? You just sign up. He's like, yeah, just sign up, go to ESPN.com, make your account, and boom, boom, boom. I'm like, what? I was like, you telling me I could have been playing all these years?
I could have drafted myself,
talking trash to friends and family. I'm like, oh man, I missed out with 12 years of not playing fantasy football, But then ever since then, though, I think the worst year I had. It's not the worst between winning games. It was the worst because I was in 6 different leagues, and I found out that's way too many.
That's way too many.
That's way too many for my plate. So I'm roughly in the neighborhood of 3 to 2 leagues. So right now I'm in 3 leagues, doing pretty good.
I think every fantasy gamer hits that point where they're like, "Oh, I love this," and then they're like, "Oh, too much, too many leagues."
That's what happened to me. Too many leagues.
What's your favorite format now that you've been playing a little bit now? Do you play a dynasty? Is it redraft? Like, what are you mostly spending your time on these days?
I say I do the normal. I haven't done dynasty or redraft, but I would like to. I've had friends that have played in those leagues, so I'm trying to get directed towards that league. I know we plan. I got a friends league where we pay. It's only it's a $60 buy-in, and it helps purchase your championship ring at the end of the season.
Hey, very nice.
Yeah, but I'm not doing good in that league. I'm like, dang, I was like, this is the year. I was like, this is the year I'm doing my draft. I'm like, this is it. And now I'm sitting at 2-6.
I'm telling you,
the upside down.
The home leagues are unwinnable. The more you get into fantasy, the less like you are to win the league against your closest friends. Like that's the number one rule.
Yes.
Like they're just going to beat you. It's a humbling experience every week. And
all day.
Come on, obviously, like you played in the league 12 years, you're plugged into the NFL. Now you're into fantasy watching it. I'm curious, like whenever you're watching the game now, who are your favorite running backs to watch on the field? Like just from like a pure enjoyment perspective, you know what it takes to be an NFL running back. Who are the guys that you watch and you just get that pleasure from watching them play the position?
Wow, these guys got it.
Yep, these guys got it. So the 2 guys that I'm automatically going to watch because I'm right here in the same town as them is AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. I like the fact that they're in the backfield together at the same time. It kind of reminds me of Dorsey and myself back when I got here. And then it goes back further to high school where my best friend from high school, him and I, for 2 years in a row, we both cracked 1,000 yards. I had 1,500. He had 1,200 our junior year. Then the next year, our senior year, I had 1,600 and he had another 1,200. So it's like it could be done. And so then Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and those guys are special together. Saquon is, ever since I saw him at Penn State and then he gets to the Giants, and now he's back in form after the injury from a few years. Respect his game a lot because he does a lot Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Christian McCaffrey, special, set records this past weekend for doing what he's doing, for now being traded. And I say that he had to be on a level of being a complete professional, because getting traded mid-season from a team you got drafted from, and you were like the guy there, and they drafted you, as we know, because of injury.
Right.
He kept it professional. He gave to the other team, and he didn't lose stride. He didn't get a layer of frustration, get a layer of regret or anything from that team. He was like, look, he probably does behind the scenes, but he's hiding it well, because he's playing one heck of a football game right now for the 49ers. I say, and then the young guy, I always like to pick a dark horse, or maybe a couple here, because I say Najee Harris, he's on a tough team right now, a team that's not doing well, but still putting it down. And then the young guy, very super talented. And then I'm trying to find his name. The young guy, he's up in Seattle right now.
Kenneth Walker.
I picked him up too. Like 2 weeks before he started doing his thing, I picked him up because I had an injury. I had an injury of a running back, and I was like, you know what? Let me pick him up. I looked at his stats. I was like, okay, he has some okay yards per carry. It's like over 3. And as a running back, I'm like, that's solid. Over 3 yards per carry is a good thing. And then I put him in. And my rule for my draft, I have rules for my drafting now and wavering pickups. And when I pick up a waiver wire player, I instantly play them. I don't wait a week. I just put them in instantly, regardless of what happens. Because I'm like, if I'm there to pick them up, that means I want them to play. So I'm not gonna mess around. That's me judging me as a GM. Hey, you picked them, you better put them in right now. So I put them in right there, and I kept him in. He's been balling ever since I got him. So
put your money where your mouth is.
Put my money where my mouth is, and I say another guy, Jonathan Taylor. He's struggling a little bit team wise, but overall he's a guy that since he got drafted from Wisconsin, a guy that I watched in college, that once he has the blockers in front of him, he's a sprint champion for every reason. That's why he's out there. So he's outrunning a lot of DBs and linebackers.
You got a Gears of War Lancer behind you?
Was that?
Is that a Gears of War Lancer? Oh,
100%. 100%.
Gears of War 1 was like my main game growing up. That was my joint.
Yeah. I skipped it in your intro, but I was reading that you're currently the head esports coach at Lakeland University as well. So you're involved in that esports scene.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely involved, entrenched in it. I've been at it for 3.5 years coaching at Lakeland, but I have been in the industry for probably double that, for like almost 8 years now. And from shoutcasting to competing in tournaments on my own, to behind the scenes, helping with cameras, helping with audio, doing all the setup that a cameraman or sound engineer does, working with a production crew, just getting the education. I'm teaching it now. We have a minor part of the communication course, 280 intro to esports now. So it's something that I felt it's just like in football. Thank you. Just like my passion of football, and it's my next passion, and I'm diving headfirst into it.
Man, it's been wild seeing it kind of blow up recently. Like I was unaware of it all that much, but it started picking up in the fantasy sports place. And then one day I showed up at a brewery, and they've got League of Legends playing on the big screen with a packed house there to watch. And I'm like, yo, this is real. I got to start paying attention. And man, I've had so much fun getting into it, starting to watch. I'm not good enough to play. Like there's nothing going on over there, but it's fun to watch.
And that's okay if you're not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm good enough to coach it, But in some games, I'm decent. I say I can compete at a high level, like Halo, like Madden. But still, when you get there in a match or practice session with a pro gamer, you be like, oh yeah, I know where I stand.
I know
where I stand. All right.
Just looking at if I look at your career as a whole, going from football to all of the things that you're into now with esports, fantasy, with teaching and content, how was that process? Like, how did you go about making that transition, and figuring out what you wanted to do after football? Was it just truly following your passions, or what led to that?
It was basically following my passions. I put out a goal sheet for myself, which I started back in high school because my mom and dad taught me how to set goals. And I knew, football, it's baseball, it's basketball. We can't play. I said only sport you could try to play forever is baseball. I've seen players play to their 50. So there you go. But other sport, it's a young. Every sport is a young man's game. So when I got halfway through my career, yeah, exactly. I tore my quad in 2005, and I came back and I finished out. I had another 5 years of playing, after that. But at that time, even before that, I was always thinking about what I'm gonna do after football. If it was coaching, if it was commentating, if it's whatever falls in my lap. And so I got in the mindset of thinking that way and not having somewhere to go after football. I think that's where a lot of professional athletes, a lot of, I see celebrities that are in that position where they somewhere for a long time. And then that one spot where they're at for 10, 15 years is over. They don't know what their next move is after that sometimes. And it's okay not to know that, but sometimes the percentages are better to know where you're going. And so I knew I wanted to do something where my passion was there, that it didn't matter what time I got in the morning, I would go do it. And so I went on a mission of doing things, fanboying it. So I started to go to San Diego Comic-Con, E3, DreamHack, PAX, because I was like, video games my next passion beyond my family, my kids, my wife. I said, now let me find something in this space. And then going to those things, like I said, I fanboyed it first. I was like, oh my God, this is cool. Oh my God, this is Batman. Oh, this is EA Sports. This is Madden. This is 2K. This is Halo. Whatever. Resident Evil. Oh my God. I did that for about a year, and then going into the next year, me and my wife put together like this pitiful business card. But it was the artwork was suspect, but it had name, it had an email, and a phone number.
Love that.
So I'm like handing it out to people with EA, Ubisoft, Bethesda, Astro. At the time, Lucid Sound, they're a headset company that I work with now. Logitech. And I'm handing out my cards, and when I hand them, they look at the card like, "Wait a minute, you used to play for the Green Bay Packers." Yeah. I'm like, I'm like, there you go. Because I wasn't going in. Right, yeah, same guy. I was like, I'm not going into it expecting them, people to know me. I wasn't in it. I'm not from this world. I wasn't grown in this world. I was grown in the football industry. So I was like, I had to be humble, which I was, which is no problem. So that's why I made the business card. So people were like, okay, he's serious. We could follow up with him if we want something, or we want to work with him on some level. And that's where it basically everything started. And that was around, I'll say probably around 2015, going into 2016, when things really started moving for me in the world, making connections, getting sponsorships, working with businesses like I said, Astro Gaming, Logitech. And then in 2019, I became an investor of a network called ESTV. It's right out of Los Angeles. So esports television. And right now we have probably the largest distribution of esports content out there. It's an app. You could download it on your Samsung or your iPhone. So download, ESTV, go there and have podcasts on there. My podcast is on there, Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge, and then other podcasts, but other shows that is all revolving around esports, from the casual sense to the pro level of of content that you can find out there.
Oh, that's awesome.
That humility, I feel like, is a little bit rare. Whenever you're coming from this, like you're coming from, you hold 4-time Pro Bowl. You hold the franchise record for the Packers of rushing yards, and it looks untouchable right now with the players that are currently sitting there. Like, there's a lot of work to be done by these active players. But you come in and you just say, here I am. I'm ready to start at ground zero. And let's work and build back up. I want to build my own.
That's entrepreneur mindset right there.
Freaking love it, man.
Exactly.
Entrepreneur mindset.
And that was my mindset, because as a gamer, that's who we are. We get a game and we start from zero.
Right. You don't know the sticks. You don't know how to work the sticks. Then once you learn it, then you start messing a little bit and you kind of suck, and then you start to get better and better every day.
Exactly. So that was my mindset going into it. And now, not only do I have great contacts, I got a lot of great friends out there that work for these companies. So that's just a bonus layer added on top of it. So I don't have to just call them up to say, hey, what's the next activation? I'm gonna say, hey man, how you doing? How's the wife and kids? How's the dog doing? How's life? How are you doing? And then we get to the business talk later on. That's the part I enjoy.
You hear that, moms out there? Stopping your kids from playing video games. Video games teach humility. They teach
you how to start from nothing. Now it does.
Now it does.
Now
you hear that?
20, 30 years ago, it was it had that little stigma about it, but now it's definitely changed. I remember back, it was I had a gym here in a training facility here, and I closed it in 2018, but probably around 2016, I remember talking to a mom, and she said, she had 3 boys. He came into the facility. She said, I want to be the next Miss JJ Watt. That's what she said to me. And all that went through my head was, okay. And I'm looking at 9. I'm looking at 11, 9, and 6. And I'm like, these are little guys, man. They probably don't even know how to tie their shoe yet. I know at least one of them may not. Yeah. I'm like, well, just slow down. They gotta
slow down.
Let's learn the fundamentals and get them to see if they even like football or like baseball or like working out. They may not like working out, and they did though. But it was just that conversation now changes to where I say, no, it's okay to let them play Fortnite for a couple hours. Then they got to go outside and play. 2 hours the limit. Then make them go do some, or you can send them to me. After about 2 hours of Fortnite, go from there. So that conversation has changed over the years.
Man, I love that. I love that story. That's hilarious. Mom coming in and then former pro NFL running back saying like, let them play Fortnite. Like, come on, they're kids. We don't even know if they like this yet.
Right, exactly.
Amon, we got some people in the chat excited that you're here. Better Boss over here saying thanks for all the fantasy football championships you won for us back in the day. Amon equals stud. And we had a question from our friend Tommy. Tommy wanted to know, who did you play against and admire? Was there like an opposing player that you played against that you looked up to or admired in the NFL when you were playing?
I would say more respected because I respected my peers because I knew what we were going through on a day in and day out, offensive to defensive players. I respected a guy by the name of Derrick Brooks, linebacker, Hall of Fame linebacker for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched him since I was in high school when he was at Florida State, and I just knew I was like, he's a player. He runs the field. He has range. He's smart. He's the reason why we have a Tampa 2 defense right now because he was a linebacker that had range. He could cover area, and then not only he could cover the pass game, he could stop the run. He was thick, he could come and thump. He was a thumper. And then a couple guys down in Chicago that we faced twice a year was Lance Briggs and Brian Urlacher. I say those guys I respected a whole lot. It was because we were basically having business meetings in the A and B gap, from time to time on the football field.
In the A and B
gap. Yeah. We're having business meetings, man. We're making things happen. We're moving things. We're moving each other. I remember one time, Brian, I didn't realize that I guess I got him good, and he helps me off the ground. He said, "Dude, you just knocked the snot bubbles out of me." I'm like, oh.
You're welcome.
I like this dude. I like this. I was like, man, get, all right, good tackle. Boom. Let's go. So he kept it, we were just competing out there. So guys like that I respected because, it was like, it was football, but you know what? It felt like more like you were playing the local high school team or you're playing in your neighborhood because you got to know these guys and it's different from when you're obviously as a fan sitting in the stands or as a commentator in the booth where you really don't get that interaction that we got face to face on a football field. So those are a few guys, but it was a lot more guys. I could go down a list of guys that I respected and admire in the NFL, but those three guys jump off the top of my head.
So to follow up on that the point about y'all talking down on the field of the planes, I feel like the public, the non-players, like are fascinated by this, right? We see these like mic'd up segments all the time that are super popular.
Yeah.
We saw Stephon Diggs and Jair Alexander just going at it, chirping the whole game.
Yep, I saw that. It was interesting. I was like, oh man, see, like me, that type of stuff will get me hype. I say, you don't want to get in my face before or during or after the game's over, but before or during the game, that was the time. If you're on an opposing team and you want to start trash talking me, it's go time. I'm like, because it doesn't deactivate me to like get me off my game. It actually makes me more focused.
Right now, I'm like, beat you.
Now, okay, you thought I was just going to run around and just hit everybody. Now I'm about to be a heat-seeking missile looking for you, number 14, number 23. I'm about to find you. And that happened to two players in my career. That happened to two players. One was my old college teammate, Mike Brown. He played at Nebraska with me. He was a sophomore when I was a junior. He was in pregame. We played him his first year in Chicago. And he's looking, he's at me. Ahman, we're gonna sack Brett 6 times. You're gonna have 4 fumbles. We're gonna beat y'all down. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Mike, you remember we went to school together.
Bro.
You should know you don't piss the Hulk off before kickoff. And I said, okay. I said, it's on and popping. I said, let's make it happen. And destroyed him. And then
bring it, Mike.
And then fast forward.
No one's heard from Mike since.
Right. Oh man. And then I think it might have been the same season. It was 2001 season. Unfortunately, it was right after 9/11. It was the first games back to football.
Yes.
We played at that time. Right now changed the name. They're Washington Commanders now.
Yeah. We
played them in Monday Night Football, Lambeau Field, and we're already in the game. We're up big. We're going to win this game. And it was about third quarter, and I had a play where my fullback Will Henderson went the wrong way, so I'm like they're just trying to not get tackled in the line behind the line of scrimmage, trying to and hold on to the ball. So I'm stiff forming, and I threw a stiff form kind of late, and I caught the safety for the Commanders, David Terrell, in the jaw, and of course he's you MFer, you beep. He's dropping on these F-bombs and BITC. I'm like the B words and everything. I'm like, oh. I said I was sorry. I said it was an accident, but it's like that now. Oh,
you want the hawk?
You thought that stiff arm was bad. Just wait till you see what I got coming your way.
I got in the huddle. I said, Brett, I don't care what coach calls right now. Give me the ball right now. It is.
The play.
And he just looked at me like, he heard the play call. And he's like, I better. All right, 66 handoff solid. I said, thank you. I said, give me the ball. So I got the ball, and I must have blacked out because all I remember is I found 31 and I walked through him like a wet paper bag. And it was even to put the bowl on the cake or to put the icing on the cake. The next day, watching game film, breaking it down, my coach right before the play started, he paused it. He said, "Boom." He said, "AG, I want to ask you something." It's Sylvester Cruz. He said, "So, what happened? The play before this play?" I'm like, "What you mean, coach?" I'm like, he's like, "Something must have happened because you missed the
fast play."
Yeah, you missed you could have had a 60-yard touchdown run on this play. Just saying. He's like, you did pick up the first down, which was good, but you could have had a 60-yard touchdown. And I'm like, oh. He said, yeah, this is what I mean. So he hits play, and I watch it, and it's him. Like he sees me get the ball, and I literally seek out number 31. Boom. And where I could have ran around him. I could have outran him to the end zone. I actually run him over for like a 15-yard game.
That is hilarious.
My God.
I was like, yeah, he kind of pissed me off to play before. Coach.
You know what I'm doing after this? I'm going back and I'm trying to find footage of that game. Like you laid out the date for us because I want to watch those plays now knowing what happened. Like knowing what was going on. I got to rewatch that.
It was funny.
That's hilarious. I feel like we just kind of brushed over the fact that you said you knocked the snot bubbles out of Brian Urlacher. Like
that's what he said to me.
Yo, that is wild. To get like, there's probably 3 people in the whole world that can say that. Like that's a tough dude.
Well, I'm one of them.
Oh my God, that's absolutely incredible.
Oh man.
I feel like we've seen a lot of running back trades the last week or two in the NFL here. We got Chase Edmonds going, leaving Miami. Going to Denver. We got CMC now in San Francisco. How difficult is it for the running back a running back going onto a new team to be effective now, to have an impact immediately? Is it something where it takes a little while to get up to speed, or is it something that like teams typically are like, look, we're just going to simplify this, like let's get you involved?
I say for the running back position in general, it doesn't take too long. I remember when I got traded, even though I got traded in the off season and then had training camp to adapt, these guys are getting traded mid-season. So I think that's even a tougher curve. But the running back position overall, like most of our plays are universal, no matter the offense. Even now with the RPOs and all that stuff out of shotgun and pistol, things are universal. There's outside zone footwork, there's inside zone footwork, and then it's usually just a counter toss, power toss play. So just knowing your footwork and knowing your blocking assignments of your linemen, other than if a coach or offensive scheme has different ideas, like a zone blocking scheme to what they do out of a shotgun, maybe change that. Just pay attention to that. But if you have great athletes like the 2 that you mentioned, they're phenomenal athletes. It's not going to take much for them. I'm pretty sure Kyle Shanahan is like, oh, you know what? Here's the play, and Christian's like, yeah, I got it, coach. That's all. When the coach hears that from a player, trust me, that coach sleeps a lot better at night. I've had my coaches through the time when they give me some new stuff during game week, and they're like, AG, can you let me tell this to you? I'm gonna write it on the board, or I'm gonna tell you this before practice, and I'm like, oh yeah, I used to run that play back in high school. And they're like, thank you. I'm like,
yes,
yeah. They're like, yes. I'm like, yeah, I got you, coach. Don't worry about it. They're like, whew. They're like, man, okay. I just got to coach the rest of the guys. So when you get players like that, then it's I say a lot easier on the coaches than it is the actual player.
Right.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Ahman, my man, this has been an absolute treat getting to talk with you today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and hang out with us.
Oh man, no, I had a good time too, guys. It was fun. Finally, another fantasy talk and football, and now a little bit of video game from you, Simon and John. So no, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Big thanks to Ahman Green. And guys, check out what Ahman's doing with esports now. Ahman, if they're looking for you, where would you want people to come find you in your work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, man. Well, for Lakeland, it's lakelandmuskies.com, and then you can check out that's the sports website for the university. So you can check out all the sports, and we're in there right under, I think, between baseball and volleyball, somewhere in there. And it's men's, it's co-ed, so it's men's and it's ladies and boys too, or guys. And then Ahman Green 30 is on my Twitter and Instagram. And then for my podcast, I do the gaming one, like I mentioned, Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge. But then I do 2 football podcasts. I do one with all 3 with my teammates. So 2 with my teammates, Mike Wall, who was our guard in Green Bay for a long time. That's on my block. We recorded that yesterday on Monday, actually, so 2 days ago. And then tomorrow morning, I record one with Gilbert Brown and Dorsey Levins, and that one's called Green and Gold G Lounge. So the first one is called On My Block. The second one is called Green and Gold G Lounge, and been doing it for probably about this season so far. On My Block, we've been doing it for a season and a half now, so it's going into our 2nd year. It's going really good. So that's where you can find me on TikTok too, with the Gamers Lounge, or Ahman Green Gamers Lounge on TikTok as well. So I'm doing, like you said, a lot. Like you said, I'm doing a lot of things here. Kind of like in football, I was a running back. I caught the ball at the backfield. I picked up the blitz and occasionally had to throw a touchdown.
Ahman, I hate to cut you off. We're running out of time right here at the end, but really appreciate you coming on, my man, and best of luck in everything going forward. I'm going to find that play right after this, but thank you so much, my man.